Now, cryptocurrency is making some big moves over the past few days. A big rally going into last weekend was squashed after Warren Buffett called Bitcoin rat poison at his annual shareholders meeting on Saturday. That said Bitcoin down nearly $1,000. It's a microcosm of what we've seen over the past year. Huge rallies, steep declines, lots of uncertainty, and a rush of retail investors trying to cash in or at least figure it out. Now comes the latest development in the cryptocurrency revolution, a new crypto index launching today. The man behind it is none other than Mike Novogratz. He's CEO and founder of Galaxy Digital Capital Management. He's also the former chief investment officer at Fortress and a former gold partner at Goldman Sachs. Hey, Mike, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
I'm doing well. I heard you laughing when we were referencing Warren Buffett's comments. First of all, let's start with the index. What are you hoping this does for the crypto market? What's the goal here?
So listen, in 1962, the S&P 500 got launched, and in the 70s, I think it was 72, the Lehman Ag Index got launched, and I was at Goldman Sachs in 92 when they did the Goldman Sachs Commodity Index, and so we're hoping that this index becomes the bellwether and benchmark for the whole crypto space, that hedge funds are compared to it, and that it's seen as this kind of watershed moment where crypto starts to become an investable asset class from an institutional perspective.
And that's, I think, what everybody's been waiting for. And looking at the list, this is a basket of about 10 different cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, obviously, probably the best known to a lot of the people watching, also the biggest holding here. But then you have smaller ones, including Zcash at the bottom with 1%. Are all of these cryptocurrencies going to survive? Is there room for everyone, or are we going to see the market start to move to one or two or a handful of standards?
There are a lot of different ways to think of what cryptocurrencies are, and they're not all the same thing. And so the way I look at it is you have Bitcoin, which really represents a decentralized gold, a store of value, and I think that will survive. And then you have a whole bunch, maybe 100 different projects that are trying to become the decentralized global supercomputer, Ethereum, EOS, Hashgraph, lots of them. There'll be a consolidation. Some of those will come, some of those will go. And then you have, privacy coins like Monero and Zcash that are part of the index. I don't think they'll all survive. And so one of the reasons you have an index is to get diversity. It gets rebalanced monthly, and so things that are doing well will go in and become a bigger weighting, and things that are doing poorly will fall out. We're still really early in this revolution.
Yeah, and that's the sense that there's, there's enthusiasm and I think fear and confusion all at the same time. Let me ask you from a point of view as somebody who's interested in this, how liquid is it? How does it work for an individual investor? If they want to be exposed to it, what do they do?
Well, this is just an index, and so there's underlying liquidity in the coins. I mean, Bitcoin is trading sometimes $12, $13 billion a day of liquidity now, and so the big coins certainly, in order to get in our index, you needed to have at least real liquidity on real exchanges. And Bloomberg, who's our partner in this thing, they're the ones who are determining that. At one point, there will be, I'm sure, other products that are linked to this index, but right now we're just announcing the index.
So talk to me a little bit about Warren Buffett's comments. And he's not the only one, by the way. You see a lot of enthusiasm, and people have made fortunes, and you hear a lot about that. And then people have been very scared, and they have lost it, or they're very skeptical and think it's all a sort of, a casino or a rat poison or whatever negative connotation you want to put on it.
This is in a lot of ways, this revolution was a millennial-led revolution, and it was a retail-led revolution. Last year, 98% of investing in it was from retail. It was kind of, I call it the people's revolution. It was a response against the breakdown of trust in central authorities. What I've found is, if guys have gray hair, you see, I have no hair.
Yeah.
But if you've got gray hair,
so that makes you the exception, the neutral party.
They're much more skeptical.
Right.
Think of it this way: if I give my mother digital flowers for Mother's Day, I'll get a slap across the face. But when my daughter gets digital flowers from her boyfriend, she's like, oh, he loves me.
Right. So some of it's from the perspective.
Warren Buffett's he's a value investor.
Right. He's never been particularly a fan of technology, but there are people who are more aware of these things, who also, for good reason, have some concerns. So let me put it a different way. What should your risk profile be? What kind of investor should be dabbling in cryptocurrency?
Listen, I think it's almost essential for every investor to have at least 1% to 2% of their portfolio in. Not necessarily because of all the gains they're going to make, but these technologies in 2 to 4 years are going to give every vertical a challenge. Not saying that the decentralized version of Uber will beat Uber, but it's going to be a challenge, and it's got a real value proposition. And so it's almost irresponsible not to have something on the table, because if you don't have a chip on the table, you never pay attention.
That makes sense, and as a diversification, if nothing else. I talked about the fact that some people do know are concerned, and they will point to, even though they believe in blockchain technology, they are worried that cryptocurrencies, there are still cyber criminals or rogue states or just nefarious characters who are really kind of controlling this market somehow. Blown out of proportion, or a degree to truth to it that the inclusion of major institutions will swing that?
I think you're seeing the herd of major institutions slowly moving. We're in the New York Stock Exchange. I'd be shocked if within the next 6 months they're not participating in some form. And so we are cleaning the game up in lots of ways. But if you want to step back, money and the transfer of money is something that governments are really worried about, and I get that. And so when you conflate all blockchains and all crypto as money, it confuses things. I think, listen, governments can throw you in jail and they can fine you. And so there is going to be strong KYC and AML around the money piece of it. But Uber can't throw me in jail if I beat their business. Yeah. Amazon, if I try to go to a decentralized cloud, can't throw me in jail and fine me. And so where the real revolution is going to happen is in these verticals.
Listen, it's early days. It's very exciting, and you're right. It's something that we all need to pay attention to.